co-founder of Rev Genius. I'm here with a special guest for the closing keynote speaking engagement here. To my right, my virtual right, is the Chief Creative Officer of a company that I love quite a bit. We use their product. They built quite a brand, ClickUp. Melissa Rosenthal. Welcome, Melissa.
Thanks so much, Jared. Appreciate the nice intro. I'm gonna rock and roll with this presentation. That work for you?
Yeah, of course. And we're talking about building a memorable brand and really excited to learn. So take it away.
All right, doing that now. All right. Thanks so much for having me again. RevCon, it's great to be here. Very excited to be presenting to you today. I am Melissa Rosenthal, as Jared mentioned. I'm the Chief Creative Officer at ClickUp. And it's been really exciting journey for us. In only a few short years, we've gone from 0 to 6 million users. That's right, 6 million. And how did we do that? We did that through a lot of punching up, a lot of creating memorable brand moments, a lot of experimentation, and taking some significant bets. So today I'm going to talk about how to infuse creativity, to take risks and build your brand. And as Chief Creative Officer, I know firsthand that companies must really take these creative risks to be memorable and stand out from the pack. So a little bit about me. I am a disruptor and a brand marketer and a creative person at heart. I started very early on at BuzzFeed. I was one of the first 10 employees there, which was really, figuring out how to find what content resonates with different people, building an audience, figuring out virality. I was one of the founding members, executives at Cheddar, a live media news network that we built from the ground up. So we built the product and then we sold that to a larger firm. But that was a really exciting experience. It showed me a lot about how to build a brand, to stand out, to differentiate yourself, and to punch up against huge conglomerates. And then in 2020, I joined ClickUp as their first Chief Creative Officer, building out an in-house creative team. And for those of you, I hope everyone is familiar with ClickUp, but if you're not, ClickUp is an all-in-one productivity platform for teams from 1 to thousands. So ClickUp allows you to bring your tasks, your documents, your goals, all of your work into one place and one platform. So you can really increase that collaboration with your teams, get work done faster, and have that ultimate visibility across your entire organization. And at ClickUp, I'm really on a mission to humanize B2B SaaS through great marketing and really help the world, make the world more productive. So B2B marketing historically isn't known for being really exciting or really bold. But the question is, why not? Is there any reason that B2B companies can't infuse boldness into their strategies, to challenge the status quo, to, at the end of the day, your buyers and decision makers are still people. You can understand their pain points and articulate the solutions in clever and human ways. During my time at BuzzFeed, our focus as a media brand was really creating content that would resonate emotionally with audiences, emotionally with different types of audiences. And there were 4 pillars that we kind of used. Is it educational? Does it provide value? Does it have shock value? Do you need to share it because it's just shocking? Is it inspiring? Is it a feel-good moment that you want to share with someone else or have them see it? Does it make you laugh? Do you see yourself in it, or do you have to share it with someone else because you know someone who will see themselves in it? In SaaS, that hasn't really changed much. Many of the key principles of why content resonates and works are still applicable across any industry. And at ClickUp, we've experimented with many new forms of storytelling to really humanize that typically very stale world of enterprise software and B2B SaaS. So how do you stand out in a crowd? Let's face it, the market is crowded. I was just talking to Jared about this. Feature parity is real, and product isn't the only way you can keep up anymore. Having a great product is incredible. I think it's table stakes. You must have a great product, but that isn't it anymore. That isn't the only thing that's really going to help you differentiate. You have to think differently and figure out ways that you can differentiate your brand and yourself outside of your product. So I like to say the first thing that we do, or first thing that we kind of think about, is really establishing that personality from day one. And it's easy in marketing to talk about brand and tone, but personality is not really a common descriptor that many people talk about in B2B marketing, but it's actually a key factor. Building a brand isn't just spending a bunch of marketing dollars, but it's really incorporating a feeling or an experience for your customers into everything they touch when they're using your product, and really tying that back to your holistic marketing. So personality, when I talk about that, is really that further personification for all of your brand in all aspects of your marketing. What is that brand persona, and how can you inject that into everything someone touches or experiences as a part of that funnel or consumer journey? And the ClickUp brand approach. So our brand is really built on humanizing our product. We've taken bold and innovative and colorful approach to really focus on empowering people, empowering the world to be faster, more collaborative, more productive, while still being humorous and approachable. And that's really important. We want people to feel like we are an approachable company, an approachable product, an approachable brand. And we've built this through bold, colorful, engaging content and creative executions. We really try to invite our users into the narrative, into the process, using humor, wit, and really honesty to cut through like a lot of the corporate seriousness and really support a healthy lifestyle around being productive and saving time. We like to refer back to an analogy sometimes. ClickUp is your most productive best friend who empowers you to be your most efficient and effective self while still finding humor and joy along the way and through the process. And here are some examples of what that looks like for us.
I think we're done writing this declaration. Is that the latest copy?
I swear it was just here.
Oh.
Fellas, relax. I created a ClickUp task.
Oh.
ClickUp.
Remember what it was like before ClickUp?
So much better way to work.
We made the business decision to switch to ClickUp.
The all-in-one engineering tool.
Clunky Jira.
Just popping in states Jira or ClickUp. I chose the latter. In with the new. You see this?
Are you an engineer suffering from the effects of Jira? Try a better tool, also known as ClickUp.
Returning to work.
As the head of sales, ClickUp has been a game changer for keeping all of our leads organized in one place. But no finger foods.
Hey, Reese, it's me.
I don't know what to do.
Those first coworker interactions back in the office.
What do you want from me, Jer?
Not as easy.
All of us elves, including the 22,542 working remote.
142, yep, that's right. And I got a bird's eye view of everything right here in ClickUp.
2, 1. Another task complete, another goal achieved. How many tasks has it been this year?
Well, this is the 11th celebration this week.
Wow.
I couldn't have done it without my amazing team. And ClickUp, of course.
There's one thing that everyone in the world needs.
It's man-made.
And it flies.
You can spend it,
And it runs out quick. You can buy it.
But you'll never have enough.
It's the only thing people have regrets about.
It's about time.
It's about time.
It's about time.
behind every success story, there's a moment when your fate hangs in the balance. When It Clicked is a brand new original podcast from ClickUp. When It Clicked, coming soon to your favorite podcasting platform.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Level Up 2021.
You really have to make sure that the entire team is focused on one single goal.
Every baseball game is a project.
So that's a little bit about how we actually approach this. So it's a lot of fun to talk about, but to show you all kind of all the things that we've been doing is really exciting. So, a lot of what we just looked at was really thinking outside the box with what you can create. It's building a memorable brand is definitely not a copy and paste process. Some people, want to follow a playbook, but really testing and learning is such a huge part of what you're able to do. And being able to create a testing machine and understanding different behaviors and then taking that and applying a creative approach is very important. So, when you think about how to think outside the box, think about what your North Star is for your brand, and then create that actionable plan to get results to better inform your marketing in the future. And one thing I've learned is small decisions really, really matter. A lot of that stuff looks really highly produced. It looks, big and fancy. And the reality is when I first started, the company was 70 people. We didn't have an 8-figure marketing budget, and I needed to make small decisions every single day that would impact the company and that would ladder up to building this brand without a huge budget. And you don't need an 8-figure budget to think outside the box. So when you're thinking about it, think about all those different small decisions. Think about email copy. Think about in-product experiences. Think about your tweets, think about your social strategy. There's a lot of different ways you can do things for really cheap that can really stand out. So it's not about having a fancy budget or, a very expensive marketing strategy. It's thinking and creating that mindset that you can think outside the box and not just follow what everyone else is doing. And a part of that approach for us specifically has really been to think like a B2B company. With the consumerization of SaaS and with being the second most competitive category next to CRM, we realized really early on that we needed to build out a really big brand strategy and take big bets that were more so seen in B2C marketing. We needed to punch up against those 500-pound gorillas. We needed to take risks, and we really needed to be bold. So some of the words of advice are don't be afraid to take risks. Of course, weigh the pros and cons of the decisions you're making, but don't be afraid. Be bold, experiment, learn, and grow, and take advantage of spontaneous opportunities. For us, developing fresh, creative advertising strategies is pivotal. And it's also pivotal for up-and-coming challenger brands hoping to stand out. You have to grab people's attention. And it really requires big risks to be taken and constant experimentation with new provocative ad campaigns. For ClickUp, this is really translated for us into this singular focus on humanizing our product through humor and self-awareness. And what you're seeing here is an ad campaign that we're going to take a look at. It's called Returning to Work. Now, as a brand, there are many, many ways to take advantage of timely news and current events, or what you can consider newsjacking. But the key to it is really having and developing a mindset of being responsive to what's happening in the world when it makes sense for your company, your product, your brand. And when the timing is right, being able to seize the moment, and sometimes asking for forgiveness and not permission. When the world started to really discuss that idea of returning to work after 2 years of remote working, we really decided that this would be a great opportunity. What an interesting time where everyone who works is experiencing the same exact thing. I don't know if there's ever been another time in history where it's been such a huge kind of global environment where everyone is experiencing the same thing when it comes to work. So we wanted to create a campaign that would really speak to that in a humorous and fun way and capitalize on a moment in time, that was very, very unique and put our own unique spin on it. So I'm going to share that with you. Here we go.
Returning to work!
Jer! Hey, man! Great to see you, man!
I don't know what to do. Is he going in for the shake? Or is it a hug? It's too soon to hug, right?
Elbow bump? I'm in too deep now. I want a hug. We'll settle for a fist bump?
Yeah, what
a chest bump?
What are we doing?
Bring it in, bro!
What am I supposed to do?
What am I supposed to do?
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Returning to work, you manage the awkwardness. We'll handle the rest. ClickUp. All your work in one place.
You know what? I don't even care anymore.
Return to work.
So for us, it was really important to find humor in that moment and, make people who were anxious about that return to work feel like, hey, things might be awkward, but we have the rest of it covered for you. And a lot of that was really kind of coming up with this creative strategy of scenarios. We created an entire series around this. We created several different iterations of it. So what you just saw is the longer form version without the performance ad. And then we created a whole set of performance ads. So we had it live as a series on our YouTube, as well as performance advertising across YouTube proper, and then also across OTT. And I actually have a question that I will answer now. So the question came in, what agency do we use? We actually don't use an agency. Everything that we have ever done has been done 100% in-house by our creative team. We hired really specialized people in ways that, we felt like if we could put out all of this content and have the creative narrative and really have the people who understand the product and the brand really well be able to work on this, that we would be able to really become effective and more efficient and create these amazing strategies. So kudos to our in-house team, because everything that you've just watched has all been created by them. And along the lines of, creating unique strategies and ad campaigns, distribution has changed a lot. Distribution is completely decentralized now, more so than ever before, really. You need to think about how you're reaching specific people and where you're reaching them. And that's not just advertising, that's organic as well. We're headed in this direction where hyper niche communities are being built and being fostered. And you need to start to think about strategies that really incorporate that as well. One example is Blind. We early on kind of knew that we wanted to get into the engineering community and at least make our mark and be known there. So we set up an AMA on Blind very early on, before anyone had really kind of heard about it. And I think, being able to tap into these niche communities and understand specific channels and how to speak to them is really, really important. And it will be in the future as well. And one example of this is, figuring out how to leverage organic in a really effective way. And, when you're utilizing brand channels, especially on LinkedIn, you're fighting, believe it or not, to reach 20% of all organic reach is dedicated to brands. 20%. So 80% is going towards people. So what does that mean? Should you spend a ton of time fighting for that 20% of reach? You should definitely not ignore it, but you need to think of creative ways to get your message out, get your brand out, get your product out. And a great way to look at this, as you have employees, right? Think of your employees and your executives as funnels. Think of them as media channels. Having them constantly share interesting videos, product tips or tricks, the inner workings of the company, behind the scenes, relevant thought leadership to news. It's the funnel that keeps on giving. I highly recommend just asking people to post online. First of all, you're not only building your own brand, you're building their brand as well. So it's an investment into them, into their brand and their future too. So it's really a win-win. And I think, people buy from people. I think it's an effective strategy that will, be leveraged across the board in a big way. And another really amazing thing that you need to think about is moat. And how do you build moat? Obviously, product is moat to an extent, but community is the biggest moat you can have. Look at Figma, just sold to Adobe. I mean, a huge part of their moat is their design community. I mean, it's fanatical. And when Adobe was purchasing Figma, at the multiple that they did, they were not just buying the technology, they were buying the moat. So with the democratization of tech, it is so important to build a moat that can outlast your paid media. The moat is your community, your super fans, your users, your champions. Treat your community like they are the most valuable asset on the planet. Reward them for their achievements. You can build ambassador programs and enable them to shout from the rooftops how great you are. Go above and beyond for them, create special experiences that make them feel valued, respond to them like people. It's very important. Another strategy that we've employed at ClickUp is punching up. put yourself next to your competitors. From day one, it's always been for us about punching above our weight class. We came in, as a small, scrappy startup to battle Goliath, to battle the Atlassians of the world. And it's really important for us to be able to punch up so that we can position ourselves next to our competitors, that we can get that seat at the table. And really, we needed to do this in order to be successful. One example of this is our out-of-home strategy. We strategically did this. A lot of people say, well, why did you spend so much on out-of-home? What's your budget? We strategically think about out-of-home as that ability to rent space in your mind constantly. Of course, you're not going to have dollar for dollar ROI, but it's an important way to be able to position yourselves next to your competitors and constantly be top of mind. So when they're experiencing you at different stages of the journey, or you're experiencing our company at different stages of the journey, you're constantly having that touch point. There's a reason Geico spends billions on out-of-home every year, and it's because they're constantly top of mind. And it's working as a part of a holistic funnel. So for us, we strategically pick our units to be high impact, hit business travelers in high visibility geos where we know knowledge workers are. So everyone asks, why do we do it? And that's really the reason. It's the part of the ability to punch up. And it's really the other thing is it's the only form of advertising where you don't have to worry about fraud, ad fraud, bots, improper placements. It's visible. And we see a ton of people constantly sharing out our advertising. They're excited when they see it. It also helps build our community too. And another tactic is punching up against your biggest competitors. So, this is potentially a polarizing one, but there's a definitely a tactic where you can really, take the energy and take the attention and put it on yourself. And one example of this was our biggest competitor, you'll see in a second, mentioned our slogan at their conference. And what we did was we acted in real time to create a video using that footage, and it went viral. It cost us $0, and it was extremely effective and had a great impact and gave people a couple of laughs. So I'm going to play that for you.
There are a few different schools of thoughts on how to tackle this problem. There's the classic one app to rule them all. I didn't make this up. I saw this on a billboard on the way in from the airport. One app, one app, to rule them all. On a billboard on the way in, one app, billboard on the way in, one app, on a billboard on the way in, one app to rule them all. I didn't make this up. I saw this.
So that was an example of, something that we did in real time. It cost us $0, and it was, incredibly fun, and a little bit of competitive jousting is never a bad thing. And, you always want to make them chase you, right? Like make them want to have to catch up with you, want them have to speak about you at their user conferences. Just because we're smaller, it doesn't mean we can't outsmart them or outthink them or outrun them. It's actually the opposite. We can run faster, we can move faster, we can extract more out of our company, and we can make them want to follow our playbook. Another tactic that we've used is really to create, and ClickUp really helps us do this, is to create feedback loops between brand and product. A lot of that building personality really has to happen within the product too. Brand should influence product should influence brand, and establishing that personality and having it live throughout your entire ecosystem. One example of that is a splash motion that we created as an end card for one of our videos. And our product team saw within our platform that we were actually creating this, and they loved it so much that they said, hey, we want to incorporate this and build this into the product. We want this to be a really core part of our motion language. So it would have been more fun as a video, but I'll show you an example of it as a slide. So we took the motion language, and it's this fun, cool, very bold, colorful splash that you get when you're loading something on ClickUp, and that people really love it. They think it's fun, it's playful, it feels good from a motion perspective, and that's really one example. We do this quite often with our product team now, and it's a really great way to infuse your brand and personality throughout everything that you do. And then there's the big fun stuff that you can get to do eventually when the company scales, and taking risks, right? So when we first decided to do a Super Bowl ad, it was definitely a risk, absolutely. It was a strategic risk, but it was definitely a risk. And sometimes you get these opportunities, and you really need to take them and make the most out of them. So our Super Bowl debut. Not everyone gets to make a Super Bowl ad. I don't think it's paramount to the success of a company, but I do think if you have the opportunity, you should absolutely do it. We took a huge bet here. A lot of questions, right? Like, why would you do this? What is the strategy? What is the thought process? What is the measurement? And what we did is we positioned it as a strategic investment. So we only bought in markets that mirrored our out-of-home strategy. We released the ad ahead of time, and we scooped up biggest press in our category ahead of the Super Bowl. So, a lot of people hold on their ads. Even our biggest competitor held on their ad. And our strategy was, let everyone see our ad ahead of time. Let's get all the press. And it really spoke to our ad and our press strategy really spoke to the strength of our internal team rather than how much money we spent on creating it. We positioned ourselves as a challenger brand. We told a real story, and we were funny and memorable versus splashy with our advertisement. And the coolest part is it was created 100% in-house. That goes back to the agency question. We didn't use an external agency for this. It was really us. So I'm going to play our Super Bowl ad for you.
I think we're done writing this declaration. Is that the latest copy?
I swear.
Latest copy?
I swear it was just here.
Oh, John, you had one job!
It seems to have vanished before my very eyes.
Fellas, relax. I created a ClickUp task.
Oh, Tommy, always saving John's derriere.
No. You just click. Oh, ClickUp.
So that was the ad that we created in-house, and some of the results for that. We saw a 30% lift to all workspaces created in the days following the ad. Total engagement of 3.2 million across all of our platforms. Our reach was 47 million plus, and 99% positive sentiment across all engagements. We ran a competitive study with share of voice compared to our competitors who ran the same ad, and it was pretty much 90% higher than them. So we had a really great result from the Super Bowl. Again, ROI, you're not going to be able to measure it dollar for dollar, but we found that it was a great risk and a great bet that really did pay off for us. And we still see sales deals that come from it today. It's all about creating ads that convert and insert ClickUp as a part of work culture. So it's really important that, not only do our ads convert, but they allow ourselves to be included in these conversations. Having people talk about you because your ads are so wonderful or really funny or stand out, I think that's the holy grail. You can do both. So it's the key. It's create ads that convert for you, but also insert yourself as a part of the culture that you want to be a part of. And we do that. We really aim to do that in everything that we do. And then always be testing. Always be testing. You would not believe how much we test on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. There are so many experiments you can do. And if you succeed with 1 out of 5 of them, you're crushing it. So, a lot of the things that you see are results of hundreds, if not thousands of tests for us. So key learnings from today, as you continue to grow your own company, your own brand, build something memorable, build something people will actually, remember. It'll stand out. That's the ability to rent space in someone's mind. That's how you stand out in a crowded market. Establish your brand and your personality from day one. Otherwise, it's too late because then you're always building to that. It's always going back to that North Star. Think outside of the box on what you you can create. These small decisions over time can lead up to really big results. Take leaps of faith, take risks, try to challenge yourself and challenge the company into what's next. And really, try to build something that will stand out and become a legacy brand, a legacy company, as our mission and what we're focused on doing at ClickUp. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you spending time with me today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, feel free to follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find. And to learn more about ClickUp, check out all of our brand profiles, or as I mentioned, some of our employees who talk about ClickUp on LinkedIn as a part of our strategy. Thank you.
That was incredible, Melissa. I don't know if you saw the comments going. You may or may not have new customers. Everyone's giving you, first off, tons of props on doing everything in-house.
Thank you. Yeah. It's
your creativity. Dare I say, maybe some of it came from along the way. I know how creative BuzzFeed is, and how good they are at testing videos and knowing what really hits. It's spectacular. We have a couple of handfuls of questions here. We have about 15 more minutes, or I'm sorry, 12. Can we ask you a couple questions?
Yeah, let's do it. I love Q&A.
Right. So one that got the most upvotes or is from Beth McCullough. What are some examples of bold messaging in B2B, and how do you do it if the corporate brand is not normally bold?
That's a great question. I think that you really do need to make sure that it's aligned to the entire strategy of the company. And a part of that would potentially be thinking about hey, this is the approach that we're going to take. What you don't want it to seem like is that it's completely isolated from the larger corporate brand. I think, you're going to do these things, they're going to stand out, and they're going to start to echo through what the entire company and brand stands for. So it is really important to kind of have that holistic vision and picture. And even if you're thinking about making small decisions, I think kind of creating that holistic plan and strategy and running it up through leadership is important. You really want everyone on the same page, especially when you're running some of the controversial or polarizing messaging or things that we're doing with some of the Jira ads that we run. It was definitely a discussion amongst leadership, hey, this is a polarizing approach that we're going to take, right? We created an ad called the Beta Tool, and it was positioning ourselves against Jira. And, I think it's really you have to have the alignment. You have to do that, because it's really hard when it's kind of feels like an isolated piece and not a part of a holistic strategy.
Nice. Now, what have you found works best to come up with these out of the box ideas? What teams work on it?
I mean, some of the best ideas or the best performing things we've done, we've come up with over a meal or over a drink. It's not like we're sitting in a room, ideating on something. When we do that, sometimes, we will come up with good ideas, but I think kind of being in the natural mindset of creativity and having other things inspire you is what really allows you to have that mindset. So I think what worked best is not thinking about it, having kind of things lead into you. And if you're trying to noodle on something, being inspired by other things. So a Beta Tool, for instance, was this kind of pharmaceutical parody, almost like an SNL skit. I should have played that video for you guys. But basically, we came up with it because we had tried at BuzzFeed, and Nick at our head of video at his previous company had tried a pharmaceutical parody. And we're like, what if we did this and we mashed it with Jira? That would be something that no one has ever done before. And the pharmaceutical parodies are so funny and dramatic with their, the way that they're positioned, that we just thought that the contrast of that ad against Jira as a software would really hit home, and it worked really well. So I think it's being inspired by the environment around you and other things that you've seen work, and then taking that and applying that to your approach, your brand approach.
What were you eating, or what were you drinking for that Super Bowl ad? When you came up with
a lot of coffee.
Fair. Was it something well thought out? I mean, clearly after, but
Yeah.
was it something thought out before executed?
Yeah, we had tried doing or we had done a caveman video, and we really liked the idea of toying with history and inserting our product into historical scenes, because the scene has already been set. You have 30 seconds to capture someone's attention and have them understand the world that you're in, and history is a good way to do that. So we're like, we wanted to play with history, and the Declaration is a pretty known part of history. I think most people understand what's going on there, and then we can insert our product in a fun way.
Nice. Now, from Candace, she's curious about how to combine the personal brands of employees. You spoke about executives and media channels. In B2B, we're starting to get that. But how do you combine with employee evangelists with the company brand, particularly when you hire someone because they've built a personal brand and audience?
That's an interesting question. We haven't really had that yet, where we've hired someone because of their personal brand and then had a hard time integrating it. We are more so focused now on building people. Some people do have their own content strategies, and we're not. I feel like if they're talking about certain things that funnel back to the company, that's great. But what we're doing now is we're definitely focusing on different topics that we feel make sense for internal influencers or internal people to talk about, and kind of like seeding them and giving them and setting them up with everything that they need to be able to do that. So we're building a system out for it. It's if someone has a very strong personal brand, I probably wouldn't, I wouldn't really like play with that too much. If it's, I would let them kind of do their own thing and integrate the company the way that they want. I wouldn't want to, take away from that. So I think it's a balancing act.
I like that. And from Amir, how many channels and people does it take to elevate the brand from a boring, just like everyone, to dynamic and memorable?
Again, I think it's, to start, we didn't have a huge team. We had a team about 7 of us, and we grew the team over time. But it was really making these small decisions. Like every feature release we would do, we would come up with a music, a rap for it. We have someone internally who likes to rap, so he would do the rap, and we would create a motion graphic video and create a music video for it. And that's how we would promote our feature releases, because we felt it would be different. So that was something that really didn't take us that much time. It took us 2-3 people, but it was a decision that like really started to get us attention for these feature releases on social and at creative. Like, wow, the creativity here. And it's things like that. It's just infusing that creative lens into like small things that eventually ladder up. As I mentioned, like we didn't, we started out at 70 people as the whole company, and my team was very small.
Yeah, and Melissa has a question on this too. Like, so your thoughts on how smaller companies with smaller budgets can still create a strong brand without access to highly visible channels. And as a follow-up to that, do you have any examples right now that stand out? Right?
Yeah,
so
I mean, I would say, that was one. We didn't put media behind that. That was an organic effort that we did on Twitter when we were a very small company. Another one is making your email copy really creative, right? Like finding that humor and that joy in like someone getting a response to something. Like, how do you delight someone? And I think like when you start to think about how do you delight someone when they're experiencing your company or your product, like that, then you're going to start to get into that. So one example were those music videos we would create. Another is really just like delighting people that talk about your company or your product online. So one woman said something about what she say for like, I'm going to like throw a party with all, like, it was I think national environment. It was the Environment Day or national. It was a day around the environment, or National Plant a Tree Day. And she had tweeted us something about like how much paper she was saving. And we're like, you know what? Like, if she's saving paper, let's do something nice for her. She constantly talks to us. So we donated 200 trees in her honor and then sent her a plaque and a certificate. And she was so over the moon excited about it. She shared it out and it got a couple of thousand likes. And I think having those small experiences, right? Like, oh my God, like I tweeted at this company and then they donated trees and then they sent me a plaque. Like, I think it's really thinking about it like that. So that builds community, that builds brand, it shows creativity. There are a lot of ways to do that.
I like that. Now, Elise Coker, how'd you reach your target audience with this ad? I assume like, not one of your paid ones. What channels and tactics did you use?
I mean, yeah, obviously with paid, it's all highly targeted and segmented and retargeted. With organic,
organic, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with with organic, it's not, we're not running ads organically. We're pretty much putting out pieces of content, and we're speaking to different audiences. The beauty and the challenge of what we do is we're a product for everyone, from engineers to marketers, right? So we're constantly, really just creating content that we feel could be useful for different audiences across our platforms, because you are kind of reaching, everyone in one place. But there's a lot of ways to do it through influencer relationships and partnerships. I think that's very smart. That's a great way to do it semi-organically, where you're not using paid channels, but you're using influencers as a way of reaching those communities. So you're creating community, segment-specific content, and then utilizing influencers to really get it out there. And that's something that we do often.
I love it. Question from Alex Rosen. What other B2B brands do you admire for their creativity?
I think,
there are somewhere.
No, Webflow has always had really great, tutorials, and they've inserted humor in fun ways. Obviously, I guess they're B2B, B2C, but Figma is, incredible with their creativity. Obviously, they're a design company, but they've done a great job. Gong, I think, does a lot of these things really well. They create great ads. They're clever. They're creative. They're funny. They do the competitive jousting thing. They're fun. They're a fun brand. So there are a lot. I think that, we're seeing more and more kind of come up and take this challenger approach, and I love it.
Now, Dale's has asked a few questions here. One of them you kind of answered, but is there a percentage of personal work brand that you want your employees to post on social? Like, what percentage of personal versus work? Do you have a say in that?
Yeah, we don't dictate that. We give them the tools and the resources so that they are able to post, a lot of content, and we help them get there. But, I would never give someone and say, hey, it needs to be 50-50, or give them an actual percentage. I think that's up to them and how they want to build their audience and their own personal brand, and give them guidance. We have documents and things of best practices of how to do it well, for those that are interested in building a company versus personal brand, and, how it can really help. A lot of people are very committed to the company, which is wonderful. So they're excited that their personal brand can act as a funnel. They're excited about the work that they do every day. But no, we don't give them any sort of guidelines around that sort of.
Let's hit two more questions, and then thank you for your time. But Erin, how do you get buy-in from management on your risky campaigns? Built into your culture, or like how's that work?
Yeah, that's really built into our culture. So from day one, I wouldn't have probably taken the role if I felt like those would all be very big fights.
Right.
It comes from the top down, of course. Like, our leadership team is on board with it. They love it. A lot of them are here because they were attracted by the brand we built. We've hired people from Atlassian because they've seen our Atlassian ads, our Jira ads. So, a part of that is like attracting that talent through that and not having to battle.
I think that's massive. What you just said here, like, pick a company that that you're not going to have to fight. Yeah. This is it's not often overlooked by senior management, but it's often overlooked by like individual contributors, right? Like, oh, that's a good brand and all of this. Top to bottom, you want a brand that's going to help you grow, right?
Absolutely.
So, Bren, in closing, what I like about the session is the product brand can be very creative, but does not have to be humorous. If the larger corporate brand isn't, for instance, it may even be more challenging to be creative without going to humor. I guess this is more of a comment than question, LOL. That's great. Bren, yes. Melissa.
Yes.
Thank you for your time. This has been.
Thank you so much for having me. This is wonderful. Really enjoyed it.
You built some extra raving fans, I promise, just because of how you'll execute and your point of view and the good stuff you're coming out. It means the world. And for everyone watching, thank you for coming. This has been a great session. This is the closing of RevCon. We have some networking after, but what a banger to close on, Melissa.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad I got to close it out. It's an honor and a privilege. Thank you for having me. And please continue to follow our journey. There'll be lots of more fun along the way.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming out to RevCon. It's 2022. It's a